down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
It's Friday morning and time for Home Repairs and Solutions with Mark and Mary, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air Heating and Air Conditioning, your local Amana dealer. And now here are your hosts, Mary Pearson and Mark Withers. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Dan.
Morning, Dan.
Good to see you this morning.
It's good to see
A
you,
little
too.
cold and damp out there.
Yeah, what a difference a week makes.
I wasn't expecting this. I thought I was expecting it to be kind of cold this morning, but I walked out and I didn't expect the rain and stuff. So, wow.
It's kind of nasty. When I was coming up from the lake this morning, it was foggy, too.
I bet it was.
It was real foggy this morning. But it's probably all cleared off now, maybe. I don't know.
Hope so.
But I was kind of getting used to these nice, sunny, 60-degree weather, and I am not ready for this mess. But I guess it's coming.
It's coming,
Might as well get ready.
The best I can do now is go out in the garage, raise the door, and start the Harley. And sit there on it. That's all I can do.
That's true. That's true. You might just have to do a little polishing or something until you can get back out and ride it.
This is polishing weather here coming up, no doubt. So it's not riding weather. I can guarantee you that.
No, it'd be kind of miserable riding.
Yes, it would. So.
Well, today we have some guests on the show that Spring Mountain Air. We've known these folks for quite a while. I've done some work with them, worked with them together on some projects and stuff. And we have Paul McAdoo and Matt Helms with us today. They're with M&H Electrical. And so get your electrical questions ready. We have some experts here that can answer all your questions and help you out if you have any issues going on. Or, you might need this information because we might have issues later.
We might.
Some of this bad weather can create electrical issues. Hopefully that doesn't happen for anyone, but if it does, we have some folks here that can help you out if that does happen when this weather hits. But welcome to the show, guys. We're glad to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
And you might want to just start out with, why don't you just tell our listeners kind of a little bit about your company, and we'll start that way, and then if someone has questions, they can call in and we can answer questions also.
Well, we started out in February of 2011. We both have been working since the 80s here in Springfield. Worked for various companies. Worked for King Electric and Steinert Electric, and I worked for Roper Electric before they closed up. And when they did close, we decided that it was a good time to go out and try to start a business of our own. It's a bad economy, but it just seemed like it was the time to do it.
Well, some of the experts say that a bad economy is a great time to start a new business. Because especially if you're a smaller business, you maybe have a little less overhead starting out. You don't have a lot of employees.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of easy to get startup money because people are needing to, lend money and different things like that if that's the case. So I do know that some people have started up businesses in the last year or so and are doing very well here locally. So I would imagine that's the case with you guys. We run into you once in a while, and like our son ran into you the other day, and that's how we got you on the show.
Yeah. We've been very fortunate. We've managed to stay very busy this last year.
Well, that's great. One of the things that I thought I would ask you guys about, while people are getting their pencil and paper ready so they can write down your information, we'll get that out here in a little bit. But this time of year, talking about weather and stuff, is there something that what are you mostly doing for folks right now?
Right now, it's the majority of the work right now is home renovations. We're doing electric work on that, but what we get asked about a lot right now is generator applications for the house. Every time the weather starts to get cold and we've got signs of bad weather, then we have people calling asking about generators and whole house generators versus just the little individual circuit, just the portable generators. So that's the majority of the questions we get right now when we're out on jobs.
We have not forgot the ice storms, have we? People still have that in the back of their minds, so that's something that I'm sure the generator thing. Now, I have a question on a whole house generator.
Mm-hmm.
do most people have the capacity to hook one of those up, or do you have to add electrical to do that? I don't know. What does it take? How much does it take to put in a whole house generator?
Well, it's a little involved. A lot of it depends on how the service for their house, the electric service for their house, was installed initially. You have to have some type of either mechanical interlock installed in the panel, which you've got to take the panel apart, and you do have to add a breaker and some wire into the panel, but it's not necessarily an additional load. It's just tying the generator feed into the panel. Now you can also go with either a manual or an automatic transfer switch. The manual switch, it sits outside the house next to the meter, and you tie into the wires from the meter into the electric panel, and you have to go outside, of course, when you lose power, and manually transfer it over. Hence the name, manual transfer switch. So the automatic transfer switch, there's a lot less maintenance to it. There's a lot less. You're not involved with it. It does it automatically. It senses voltage loss, and after so many seconds, it switches over. So you're not actually adding any load to the service. You do have to get into the service and get a feed to it from the generator. So it is something that's a little involved.
Do most of these whole house generators sit outside?
Yeah, they sit outside. They're usually a little either a concrete pad, or a gravel bed that's put down.
Okay.
And you have to have a plumber get your propane or your natural gas. You can go with a diesel or a gasoline engine on it. Most people choose to go with either the propane or natural gas. And it sets outside, and you can set them. They will have an exercise period once a week where you'll notice it's running even though that your power is off. And it's just exercising that motor, keeping it lubricated, making sure everything's running right.
Oh, okay. Well, I hadn't thought about that, because I guess if it didn't work, it would just sit there and then you...
Yeah, you'd be in trouble if you put one in and it wouldn't run when the power went out.
Yeah,
so.
that would not be a good plan. So you probably want to make sure it's going to run when you need it.
And one of the things that's really important about a transfer switch is the fact that you don't want to be putting power back feeding it through the panel. Power guys are out there on the line working, they cut into something and wham. So it could be a danger for them also if it's not properly installed.
Exactly. That's why I say you either have to have a mechanical interlock in your panel or some one of the two transfer switches, because otherwise, during the ice storm, you heard stories about people hooking it into their air conditioner disconnect and back feeding out onto the pole, and
that is not a good idea.
No, it's very, very dangerous.
You'll have a lineman looking for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing about the whole house generators, as opposed to say one that we go out to one of our box stores and buy and we take home, there's only a certain amount of amperage that they'll run, so you got to be kind of choosy on what you do hook into them. And another thing that and I know this is pretty close to my family, this happened to one of the relatives. They put the generator in the garage and opened the garage door a little bit, thinking, well, that's going to be enough ventilation. Well, you know what happened? They're not with us anymore because of the carbon monoxide poisoning.
Goodness.
And people don't think about that. They think, well, we'll raise the garage door just a few inches to get ventilation. I'm sorry, that don't work, and unfortunately, it does happen.
Yeah, because with a situation like that, the carbon monoxide that's coming out of there is actually heated, so it's going to tend to rise rather than going out through the cracked garage door. So yeah, that is something that people need to consider as well. Even if you have a portable generator, it needs to be outside in some location. Even if you've got to spend the extra money to get a longer lead to your connection point, it's still, that's in the garage is not ever the good idea for the generator.
Right. Now, how would a homeowner, now I'm going to show my age here just a little bit. Let's go back to the old Green Acre shows where, you used to have a 1 and a 2 and Oliver tried to show Lisa that she could only plug in to equal a certain amount. How does a homeowner determine what he can and what he can't use on a generator?
Well, you have to have all of your appliances will be marked with a KW rating, which is it's kilowatts. It's how many watts that they use. Now, like your lighting, you've got a 60-watt light bulb in this fixture. You've got two 60-watt light bulbs. When you go through and get an idea of what you use, then there's a pretty simple formula that'll tell you what size generator you've got to use. You get your kilowatt rating, and that's watts,
Mhm.
and you, times 1,000s kilowatts.
Mhm.
But you divide your watts by 240 volt, because that's what goes into your home. You've
Right.
got 240 volts there, and that will give you the amperage that you're using in your house. That tells you the total amperage load, and from that point you can look up all the generator sites. They tell you what their kilowatts are rated. You know, generators are rated in kilowatts, and then they'll tell you, you know, what size amperage corresponds to what wattage on your generator. But if you, the homeowner, if you figure out, you know, what his load is basically at the 240 volt, and then multiply that by 10%, that'll give you what size generator you need
Mhm.
to operate your house. It's kind of in detail, you know, but you got to kind of guess. I mean, there's ways you can do it with meters. You know, we can actually meter
Sure.
each leg, A and B,
Mhm.
and come up with an exact amperage for it.
Right.
But the homeowner can go through and, you know, I've got my range, I've got my air conditioner, you know, and they're all rated in wattage. They can get that total wattage, and then, like I said, you multiply that by the 10%, and that'll give you an idea of what size generator you're
Okay.
actually going to need.
Okay.
So do you guys sell generators as well, or does the homeowner need to get their own and then have you hook it up?
We can do it either way. We have an outlet we can get the generators. We normally, what we deal with is Generac. They seem to be the best as far as cost goes on the generators, because they have a kit that comes with a transfer switch. It comes with the generator and then the leads and everything. All comes as a kit. So once you figure out what size generator you need, you buy that whole kit, and they vary in price. And you can figure somewhere in the area of $5,000 for a whole house generator, one of the kits from Generac. And I do like installing those, because, like I said, they come with everything. They come with 30 feet of lead from the generator to your panel. They come with a transfer switch and everything. You can choose to do a generator panel, which you take circuits out of your house that you know you're going to have in a power outage, and you transfer them into this generator panel, or you can do a whole house transfer switch and just utilize the panel that you have in the house to just as you would normally.
So, say I'm a homeowner, and I don't know what all my I can't figure this formula out. If we called you guys to come out, would you guys come out and figure all that out and give us an estimate on putting in a whole house generator?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. And is there a charge for you guys to come out and do that?
No.
No, okay.
No, there's no charge for us to come out and give a quote on it.
Okay. Because I know that, like with our business, we have a lot of clients, and maybe they're widowed people, or they're someone who isn't able to do that type of calculation or something for themselves. So that would be me. I wouldn't know how to do that. I'm sure my husband does, but I would not know how to do that. So I would need someone like you guys to come out and actually get me the right size, the proper size, and go through the whole thing with me to make sure I had the right thing on my home. When someone puts one of these in, how long will they just run indefinitely, or how does that work?
No, the transfer switch, if you choose to go with an automatic transfer switch, they will actually sense when the utility voltage comes back on, and there'll be a cool down period, and that's variable. You can set it for a number of minutes. We set it for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And after the 30 minutes time, when the utility voltage comes back on, then the generator will shut down and it'll all transfer back over. You'll notice a momentary loss of power, and then it come right back on as the
Okay.
switch changes back and forth.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it will do it all by itself. Now, if you go with the manual transfer switch or a interlock in your panel, then you will have to go out at that point and turn the generator off and switch the switch back to utility, or go in and operate the mechanical interlock in the panel.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, why don't you guys give out your phone number and how people can get a hold of you, so in case someone's looking at doing this, then they know how to get a hold of you guys.
All right. Name of the company is M&H Electrical Solutions, and the phone number is area code 417-693-2044.
Okay. We'll give that out again later in the show. In case you guys didn't get it the first time around, you'll have a chance to write that down here later. Looks like we might have a call.
We do. We have Kirk holding on out on I-44. Go ahead, Kirk.
Hey, I just had a question. Back during the big ice storm, I was able to get into a portable generator. The Guardian Angels over at across town there at that big tool place. I forget what it's called. Anyway, we've got like a 5,500 and change watt portable generator, and I had an electric company come out, put in the cutoff switch. It's manual. It's not automatic. It's not a whole house, but it's close. I'm having to, if I run it now, I've either got enough power to run the water heater and a couple of lights, or enough to run the well and maybe a couple of lights, but I have to switch everything back and forth. On one of these whole house generators, what's the average watt size that it takes to run a house? And can they be propane powered?
Yeah, they can be. They're propane powered. There's usually a switch inside the carburetor on that. They'll switch from propane to natural gas. Now, if you've got one that operates on gasoline or diesel, those they will only operate on gasoline or diesel. But the whole house ones, you buy it for natural gas or propane. There's a switch inside the carburetor that changes the orifice size, so it can switch to either one. And then as far as the sizing on that, you figure for a 100 amp house, if your service is 100 amps, then you're roughly at a 20 kW to run the entire house. Now, even with that, you are operating on a backup system. So a well is generally going to pull somewhere around 30 amps. Your range is somewhere in that same ballpark. The dryer's somewhere around 30 amps too. So your larger loads like that, you will need to be careful about how you run the larger electrical loads, even with a whole house generator.
Okay.
You can overload them if you try to cook and dry and run everything all at once. I mean, it's still possible to overload it because they do just have a surge rating, and then they have a rating that they can actually carry constantly. Okay,
well, I understand that part completely. So to get into a 20 kW generator that runs the house and uses propane, since we live in the country, natural gas isn't really an option. What do you think that would? It's just ballparking. What's your best guess on an installed turnkey price on that?
Now, like I said, without seeing it, just a best guess on something like that, you're looking probably in the. I'm going to say you're probably in the $6,000 to $8,000 because you will have to have propane run.
Yeah.
To the generator as well, and just the cost of the generator, but you're probably in the $6,000 to $8,000 range.
Okay. Well, that's what I would need to know. Thank you.
All righty.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Kirk. For you folks who want to know what number to call, it's 862-9977, 1-800-375-0056. So it's a free call for no matter where you are. No excuse.
Even if you're driving down I-44.
If you're driving, we don't encourage that, but hey, if you feel the need to call. Pull over or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Just don't text.
He said he was on I-44, so he might have been just sitting there.
He might have been. That's true.
Right.
That's true.
You never know.
So never know. That's
never
right.
know.
So, well, a lot of great information on generators, and that seems to be something that everybody's really concerned about this time of year. Especially here in a few days, they're talking a chance of bad weather, and we don't know when it could happen. We could have got up this morning and had ice.
Oh, sure.
And but what else can folks do to prepare their house? Say they already have a generator or don't think they need one. What else can they do to prepare for the winter weather?
If you have an overhead service, keep your trees trimmed.
There you go. That's a good one.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anything else that comes to mind that would be important?
Not really. The main factor we have when we lose power in this area really is the limbs falling. That's the biggest issue, and it is a fairly major expense for most people to keep the trees trimmed back from the lines.
Right.
But that's really probably the most important thing you could do as far as being concerned about losing power around this area.
Right.
I would say, don't the utility companies kind of do that, or no?
Well, yeah, they have tree trimming crews.
Depends what kind of job you want.
They trim over their lines.
Yeah.
The drop to your house,
is your
your
responsibility.
responsibility.
okay. So if you got a drop going to your house, they don't
Yeah.
necessarily trim over
If you
that.
have an underground service, then you don't have to worry about it.
That's
Right.
true. Okay. All right.
True. We got another caller holding on. We got Mike here in Springfield. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, good morning, folks. I've got a question for the electrical fellas. Got a neighbor that had a jack of all trades kind of person, master of none, come out and do some work, electrical work on her outdoor outlet. Well, subsequently she found out that old boy tapped into the 240 at the breaker, so she went through like 3 electric weed eaters until she realized what was going on. I've got an avionics background. I understand Ohm's law. Is it as simple as disconnecting from the 240 at the breaker and then tapping into the 120? And yeah, is it as simple as doing that to make it right? And I'm not sure if I wanted to handle it because of liability issues. And what would you folks charge, ballpark figure, to make it right for that outlet to output 120 VAC?
See, you think he actually tied into the breaker, or he just tied into something in the house, or do you know? Because
I've not investigated. I simply assumed. I did, however, hook my meter to the outlet, and she's reading 240 VAC.
Yeah, that's never good.
Yeah.
You know, if he just found a line under the house and tied into it, then you know, he could get a little bit more involved right there, just finding where he tied in to get the power. If he actually went back to the panel, then it would be as simple as going to a different breaker, taking the wire to a different breaker, to a single pole breaker. As if he's tied into 220 right now, I'm guessing that he found a wire under the house, or maybe found an old air conditioning outlet and tied into it, thinking it was 110. A lot of times in houses you can't go by just the color. You know, you can't say black is always hot and white's always neutral, because in the Romex you've just got the 2 wires, and a lot of times air conditioners will be actually on a black and white wire, and you'll have 240 volt. So it sounds like that's what he's probably done, is just tied into an existing circuit that he found and didn't check the voltage. You know, first mistake. But now we would be looking at a couple hours worth of probably a couple hours worth of labor, just to guess. So you know, somewhere around $100 would cover changing that over to a 110.
Is she here in Springfield?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
and that's guessing. You know, you don't ever really know what someone else did before you get in there and start investigating a little bit.
I totally understand. I'm gonna take a peek at it and see what's what, and I've got your number written down. I'll I don't feel like messing with it in terms of liability. You know how everybody's sue happy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You guys are bonded, right? All that good stuff.
Yeah,
Insured?
licensed, insured, and bonded.
Very good.
That's
Thank you,
that's the only kind of folks we have on the
That's
show.
right. That's right. Boy, I bet that weed eater ran like son down there for a little bit, didn't it?
About 5 seconds.
Yeah, it got with it there for a while, I'm sure.
Hold it over her head, she might have taken off.
Yeah. Dan, do we got time to get another call in before break? Well, let's go talk to Chris in Branson. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi. Yes, the generators that you guys are talking about are the nice ones that sit outside on a pad, right?
Yeah,
It's a nice square one, and it looks nice on the outside of the house.
Yeah, the Generac model that we were talking about, they are usually a tan or kind of an ivory color. Yeah, they sit
Right.
outside on either a concrete pad or on a gravel bed.
Okay, now if you already have propane, because we have 2 fireplaces that use propane, the rest of the house is electric. Do you have to run lines for that, or do we have to have another tank put in the ground for this?
Well, that right there, we would have to have a plumber come out and verify the line size, make sure that you've got enough service for the generator at that point, and he would have to run a line to the generator from either the tank. A lot of times with propane, they'll just run a separate line from the tank straight to the generator. If the line coming to the house is large enough to feed the generator as well as your fireplaces and your furnace, then they can just tap into that right there. But that's something we have to just actually verify the line size that's feeding it.
Okay, and approximately, we have a home our size is about 3,600 square feet. What would we be looking at as a cost for the right generator for that?
Well, we'd have to take a look at the actual load for your house before I could give you a real good price on it. But the generators themselves, just ballparking just the generator, and without seeing anything, like I said, it's somewhere between that $6,000 and $8,000. Somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, well, I'd say it's a good investment. I came up from Texas and during Hurricane Ike, and not having power for 13 days. That's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the only thing.
I think it's a good investment. I heard this and I thought, I wanted to call in because we've been talking about doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we have to actually get down there and take a look at it. And with the propane, a lot of the times you'll have just a 3/4 inch line feeding the house. Now we're not licensed to do the propane. That's why I said we'd have to bring in a plumber or mechanical contractor to actually take a look at that and do the running on that. But most of the time with propane, it's as simple as running another line to the tank.
Okay. All right. And what kind of time limit are we looking at?
As far as getting them installed?
You're right.
It's usually about a week's lead time on getting the generator delivered to us. So it's not too awful long.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it, and I enjoy the show. It's very informative.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling, Chris.
We got Sharon holding on down the Crane. Go ahead, Sharon.
Hi. A friend of mine recently had a house fire, and when they traced it back to the source, they said it was the outside outlet. And even though she had the little spring cover over it, the little spring door over it covering it, water had gotten down inside and had gotten into the actual outlet itself. I was wondering if you could tell me if I got, because I have one and it's been bothering me ever since, if I got the plugs that you put into an outlet to keep a child from, poking something into the outlet and put that into that outlet, would that keep it dry and keep it from getting water in it and the possibility of a fire?
No, it's probably leaking around the cover, and it's going to get back behind the receptacle. It's not actually going through the receptacle. The best thing you could probably do is get an in-use weatherproof cover, and then to go above and beyond that, you can silicone the sides and the top of that cover, and it keeps the moisture from getting in, but it will let any moisture drain out. You don't want to silicone the bottom of it.
Okay, so just the top and the sides.
Yes.
Yeah, and the cover that you were describing is it's a weather tight cover. It's not really a weatherproof cover. The in-use cover that Matt was talking about, that actually has a door that's dome shaped, and it allows you to plug into the receptacle and still maintain a weather tight cover over the receptacle. So
okay, and it's called an in-use, like in Nancy?
In use, it's IN.
Use. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You bet.
Appreciate that, Sharon. We need to take a break. We'll be right back.
This is the Wall Street Journal Report. I'm Jennifer Kishinka. Stocks are broadly lower, and concerns about whether or not Greece will be able to receive bailout funds. The Dow Industrial's down 128 to 12,762. The Nasdaq's off 24. The S&P 500 down 12. Consumers are feeling a little less confident about the economy these days. The University of Michigan Thomson Reuters gauge of consumer sentiment fell 2.5 points from January. Scott Hoyt, Senior Director of Consumer Economics at Moody's Analytics, says this gauge covers how consumers view their personal finances as well as business and buying conditions.
To some extent, it appears to be a seasonal phenomenon. We've only had one February where this index posted an increase since 1999, so we're not too concerned about it for that reason.
The International Energy Agency today slashed its 2012 oil demand forecast for the second time in just a few weeks as the economic outlook weakens. And this is the Wall Street Journal Report.
These days, who isn't on a budget? Whether it's a ramen noodles every night budget, a cutback on your cable channels budget, or how in the world am I ever going to put my kids through college budget? Allstate has something just for you. The Allstate Value Plan. It's their most affordable car insurance, and it still comes with an Allstate agent. Plus, the value plan includes Allstate Easy Pay, so you can stay on top of your payments without even thinking about it. The Allstate Value Plan. It's the kind of car insurance that fits any kind of budget. It's Allstate for all.
There's an Allstate policy for everyone. Why not see how much you can save with the Allstate Value Plan? Find an agent near you at allstate.com today. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and their affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
The Allstate Value Plan. Dollar for dollar. Nobody protects you like Allstate.
Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. Charges have been filed against a man in that stabbing at the Centerfold nightclub on West Sunshine. 33-year-old Chantry Hale faces charges of second-degree assault and armed criminal action after he allegedly stabbed 52-year-old Kevin Gloss in the back in a restroom at the adult nightclub. Gloss has been released from the hospital where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. A Nixa optometrist has been sentenced in a tax and bankruptcy fraud case. 61-year-old Dr. Leslie McLaren was found guilty in federal court of tax evasion, bankruptcy fraud, impeding the work of the IRS, and filing a false tax return. He'll spend the next 3 years and 4 months in federal prison and has been ordered to pay more than $300,000 in restitution. And the Missouri House has passed two pieces of legislation that seemed headed for a veto by the governor if they pass the Senate. One relaxes the state's workplace discrimination laws to fall in line with federal standards. The other requires photo ID for voters. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
Mostly cloudy and windy today. We'll see a shower early on, high near 40 as we wrap up the work week. Clear, windy, and much colder tonight, low down to 11. Mostly sunny, blustery, and cold for tomorrow, high just 24 to start the weekend. Mostly sunny, and it won't be as cold on Sunday, high 35. A low Sunday night, 24. We will see some snow at times, otherwise mostly cloudy as you head back to work on Monday, high 38. I'm AccuWeather's Jason Lord.
At Advance Auto Parts, we don't do anything just part way. We go full throttle. We don't just sell batteries, no. We install them fast and free with purchase on most vehicles. We install rain or shine or even that weird thing where there are some clouds, the sun is shining, but you're still getting rained on? Yeah, we'll still install it. Free battery installation, even in weird weather. Only at Advance Auto Parts. Service is our best part. Advance Auto Parts. See store for details.
85, now would have been 85, now would have been 85, now would have been 75. At 75, now would have been 75, now would have been 75, now would have been 65, now would have been 65, now would have been 65. 65, now would have been 10, now would have been 65, now would have been, sir, can you go lower? 65, now would have been 55. 55, now would have been 55. Ma'am, yeah, 55, now would have been, can you go lower? 55, 55, now would have been 45. 45, got 45 right there. Thank you, sir. 45, now would have been 35.
Starting now, no more pricing games. Just great prices from the start. Because that's fair and square. And that's JCPenney.
So, $20.
This is Troy Aikman.
And Hulk Hogan with another worry-free shopping tip.
You know, choice is a good thing when it comes to brands and payment options.
One size does not fit all.
Which is why Rent-A-Center makes so much sense. Choose the brands you want with the payment terms you need.
So you never get forced into something that's too tight.
Like that shirt.
Right now, choose from 50-inch Panasonic Plasmas, 15-inch Acer laptops, or Cabrio washer and dryer sets for a special low price. And you can pay weekly, bi-monthly, or even monthly. Restrictions apply. See store for details. Offer expires February 18, 2012. Quantities limited.
Catch all the nail-biting excitement and hard-hitting interviews on Morning Line with Dan Vaughn and his great lineup of special guest hosts. Chuck Wooten, John Sellers, the fellow from Amarillo, Dave Smith, Dr. Elizabeth Dudash, Jeff Seifrid, and Andrea Lord. That's Morning Line, 640 to 10 a.m. weekdays here on AM 560 KWTO.
Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, you need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions.
And you're listening to Home Repairs and Solutions with Mark and Mary, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air Heating and Air Conditioning, your local Amana dealer. And once again, Mary Pearson and Mark Withers and their guests for today.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for listening in today. We have some great guests here. We have
Yes, we
Paul
do.
and Matt with M&H Electrical Solutions. We've been talking a lot about whole house generators, but I would imagine you guys do a little more than just that. Some of the things that I was kind of wondering about is, do you ever get involved with any of this? You know, we have a lot of wireless technology and stuff now that's not really wireless. Something has to be plugged in or something somewhere. Do you guys ever do any of that type of work for folks now, or have you been into that too much? Or
We've got into a little bit. Not a whole lot of the wireless, per se, but we do the Cat5 cabling. We've done in houses. A lot of people are going to the online movies and stuff like that. It's where they're carrying their TV with the new big screen TVs. They're running it through their computers, and you need a Cat5 cable, to hook into your modem so that you can receive the programming over your TVs. A lot of people are switching over to wireless. Like I said, we haven't got into that as much as the direct cable. Okay.
I didn't know if you saw any kind of new trends or anything in your industry, or what I could think was the wireless, because I know that a lot of people are kind of doing that type of thing, and I hadn't thought about the movie deal, though. I never did know how that worked exactly through the computer and all that stuff. So that's interesting to know you have to have a wire to do that with. So
you can actually, if you have a wireless modem in your house, you can actually use your wireless. But from what I have heard from people, they prefer to have the cable because they can get faster downloads. The picture is actually better because it stays faster with the cable than with the wireless. Now that's just going on just what I have heard from customers, that we've put the Cat5 cables into their TVs.
Okay. Something else you guys do, I would imagine, is you probably do just all type of service work as well. If someone is having an issue, what happens? Let's say that you're having trouble with power surges, or where you have something come on and then the washer machine kicks on and your lights kind of dim and then go back up and all that. Is that something typically that you guys can help with, or is that just an electrical service issue?
Well, part of the time it's because it has a small service. With a 100 amp service, when your air conditioner kicks on, you're going to have a surge where your lights dim a little bit because of the locked rotor on the when the air conditioner starts up, it draws a lot more than
they do draw quite a bit when they start. Right, that's
so
correct.
You're going to have, if you have a 200 amp service, it usually doesn't happen as badly, but
so you can go in and you can update services for people if they have, because it seems like we get more and more. I mean, we've done it in our own home. You have more and more stuff that you plug in. Like I just bought a Kindle Fire. You got to plug them suckers in. So you got to plug them in and charge them up. So there's all kinds of new gadgets and devices out there that take electricity to either charge them or run them or whatever the case may be. So I'm thinking, that if you have an older home that maybe doesn't, and you're buying all these new fangled, wonderful creation things that we have now, that might be part of the problem. Is your service isn't capable of handling all the stuff you're trying to do now.
Yeah, actually, a house that was built 30 years ago, they never dreamed that we'd have the amount of draw on the home that we do now. Mm-hmm. The plasma TVs, you get up into the 50-inch plasma TVs, they pull a lot of amps. Everybody thinks it's less and less all the time because it advances. But plasma TVs, I've seen them where they pull 8-9 amps on the TV. And most living rooms are a 15-amp circuit. So you're taking up over half of your circuit just to run your TV.
And plus, when you shut those TVs off, they're still sitting there drawing.
Yeah, they still have a draw.
You unplug it.
Yeah. And it's like I said, 30 years ago they just didn't see that you needed that much in a house. They never planned on that kind of load. And we do add more and more all the time. You've got your phone chargers, you've got you
That's
like
true.
your
Mm-hmm.
Kindle Fire. You've got all these things that we plug in now that we didn't used to have. Cordless phones. That's just another draw, and we just keep adding more and more. And the older homes really weren't set up for it. So, yeah, sometimes we do have to go in and update the service to accommodate.
Okay, I would think so because I was just thinking about that the other day when I was plugging my Kindle Fire back in because the battery went dead again. I thought, who ever thought you'd have to plug in your book to read it?
Well, that's a good point, Mary.
And I really like it. It's real handy and stuff, but, I'm not used to battery charging my book.
Another thing we see, too, right now with the cost of utilities and everything going up, and we see people are going more and more to the, the space heaters to heat individual rooms in their home. And, what most people don't realize is most of the time in a home, you have multiple rooms on one breaker.
Yes,
It's not like every room's got its own circuit.
Sure.
And when you go to plug in a 1,500 watt space heater, or I can't think of the name of the ones the Amish sell. They're cool to the touch, but even those they pull about 1,500 watts. Well, 1,500 watts works out to essentially 11 amps on a 15 amp breaker in most cases.
I see.
So we get quite a few calls on people. I've started using space heaters and now my breakers are tripping, or my outlets are feeling hot. You can actually feel heat at the outlet, and what really needs to be done in a circumstance like that, if you have something that is a high draw, it needs to have a circuit ran individually for it where you're going to have it plugged in. Ideally, you'd put a 20 amp breaker in on something that pulls 11 amps.
Well, Paul, we have a solution for that. You call Spring Mountain Air.
Spring Mountain Air.
And then you don't need those little heaters all over your house.
Yep. Work that in perfect for you.
There we go. Thanks for the lead in there, buddy.
Slip that right in there, didn't you, Mary?
I'm always thinking.
But we was talking about the amount of stuff people plug in and the TVs and stuff, and everybody's into the home entertainment and stuff, and they'll take a power strip that might have 8 or 10 outlets on that power strip and plug that thing in besides everything else. And, they think, well, I'm just plugging one thing in. But no, they're not. They're plugging, 8 things in. You got, your big power amps that they use for the surround sound systems and all that. And I've actually been in places that when the bass would hit, the lights would dim. It pulls so much power.
Yeah, the driver for the bass, that's a lot of power all at once.
Yeah. And it's happened in my house before. I shouldn't tell that, but
I was going to say, that must have been personal experience.
Yes, it was. It was. But people don't realize, and we go and we buy the stuff, and just one more thing we plug in, and then we look and say, well, there's not enough outlets in this house. And they don't realize that, their house was built 40 years ago. It has 100 amp service, and they need to call you guys.
Yep. Yeah, that's what it gets to eventually. Eventually you reach the point where you can't just add another breaker, you can't just add another outlet. You've got to update the service. And, they're just continually to be more and more that we're going to wind up plugging into the houses. It's just something that never ends. We always find something that we got to have.
Well, and when you're out buying a product like that, you're not thinking, when you're looking at this TV and you're thinking, man, this is going to be great for football or whatever it is you're buying it for, you're not thinking how much juice that thing's going to take to operate. You just don't think of that, or I don't anyway. And so you just buy it and take the old TV out and plug the new one in, and whatever else you're going to hook up to it, and just go on. And so, if someone's having issues like that or having a situation where maybe they've overloaded their circuits, they probably need to give you guys a call and get some assistance before they burn their house down.
That's right. And one thing that we are very big on this program, and I want to touch on this real quick because we talked a little bit about this before we went on the air. The person that calls, and just like the lady that had somebody wire the outdoor outlet, the person's not, they don't have insurance, they're just, they're probably not even licensed. You had a problem, they're gone. Or we have, during the ice storms, we have a lot of people that'll come in from out of town and say, oh, hey, I can fix that today because your normal electrician can't get to you for 4 or 5 days. Be careful. Watch out for that. Ask for references. Ask to make sure you got insurance, that you're licensed, and make sure if it's major that the person you have do the work does the proper thing, goes, pulls a permit if they need to. We all like to think, we don't need to get a permit for that, don't worry about it. But really, it's very important that those things happen.
Yep.
And it slips through a lot and people get in trouble. And so just like the lady we talked about before the show, she had to pay for having her work done twice because the first guy that did it didn't do it right, and he's gone.
Luckily it didn't burn down her house or hurt
somebody. Right.
And even if it did, he's gone. He doesn't have insurance.
Sure. And so, it's not really that cheap.
No,
Because
really
if you're
it's
paying
not.
for it twice, you should have just got the professional and paid for it right the first time.
Yeah,
So
one of my biggest pet peeves is you'll talk to people and they will have had work done, and whoever did the work, a lot of times they'll say, oh well, we're out here in such and such, and there's not really any code out here, or they'll say, well, an inspection's optional, that kind of stuff. Well, there's always a code. There's a national electrical code that applies to everything and every place.
Right.
So be leery if someone's telling you, there's no code out here. That's not true. There's a national code that is the basic minimum that's allowable anywhere, and it's always in effect. Now, you may live in a community that doesn't have an inspector per se,
Right.
But there's still a code that needs to be followed.
Yeah, just because you don't have to have a permit does not mean there's not a code.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a little bit overlooked, I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, and people, you get swayed when something looks extremely cheap to have the work done. It sounds great because this is a heck of a deal.
Or if you get yourself in a situation where you need someone right away, and you don't know who to call, that's one of the things we like to put out on the shows. We like to put out information of good companies, qualified companies that are licensed, insured, that are local, so that when one of our listeners has a situation or issue where they need someone that's been on the show, they already have the number, they know who to call, they've already listened to you on the show, so they're not just trying to pick someone out of the phone book and hope to goodness that they know what they're doing and it's going to do the right thing by them.
Right.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys give out your number here again before we have to quit and we don't get it back on. So give it out again so people can write that down. And
It's 417-693-2044.
So that's how they can get a hold of you and get the work done. So we got a caller out there. We got Rex holding on. Go ahead, Rex.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing I want to add to your conversation is that thing you got to remember is if you don't have it done properly by a licensed, certified person, and if you got to get a permit, and you have an accident, fire or something, your insurance company probably won't pay for it if it's not done properly.
yes, that's correct. That's another part of the puzzle is if something happens like that, your insurance company's going to want to know who was out there. And you're correct. If they weren't licensed or didn't have the authorization to do work in your part of the country, insurance companies are always finding ways not to have to pay a claim.
Have to pay, absolutely.
So
they're in the business to make money too.
Absolutely. So don't get yourself in a situation where not only do you have a problem, that then if you have a disaster, then your insurance isn't going to pay either. So
Right.
that's something to think about as well.
Very good point, Rex. Appreciate that call.
Okay, well, I thought I better add that in there because that's a very important point because some people won't think about it and they'll have somebody just off the street do work for them and then they have a problem and their insurance company doesn't cover it and they're in serious hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's for sure.
Appreciate that call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys do things like, will you, if someone wants to put in a new ceiling fan or new light fixture, do you do those type of things for people too?
Oh yeah,
as well?
absolutely. Yeah, anything like that. That's the service calls. They're always welcome. Anything like that. And we can provide the fan. Normally we like for people to pick out their own lighting fixtures. Because it's hard to match someone else's taste.
Oh,
but,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's generally it's something that can be done within an hour.
Wow.
How about new construction? Do you guys do new homes?
Residential, commercial.
Yeah.
No job's too big or too small.
There you go.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate with the new construction. It's actually we've been doing quite a few houses here lately. It's the housing market was real slow all year long.
Oh yeah.
Of late, we've seen a little bit more coming up. So
it seems to be picking up just a little bit. So I'm hoping that's a positive thing for our economy here in the near future. So that'd be good for all of us in construction. That's for sure.
Yes,
we would all be tickled to see it pick up a lot more again.
Yes, we would. Well, is there anything else I didn't know? We've almost used our hour, and we had so many calls. Was there anything that you guys wanted to get out to the listeners that maybe they don't know about you guys, or something that else you can do that we haven't discussed so far? I I don't know
You
what
think
that might
anything,
be,
Matt?
but
Not right offhand.
what is your service area?
We have gone as far as Osage Beach.
Okay.
And as far as Osage Beach, and we typically go to Branson quite a bit,
sure.
Republic area, and we try to keep it within 45 minutes to an hour, if we can.
Sure.
But, anywhere around an hour's drive.
Okay. So all of you folks that are listening to us, if you're in about an hour's drive of Springfield, these guys can help you out if you have electrical needs. So make sure you have their number down. If you don't, you can always give me a call at Spring Mountain Air at 831-4036. I have this list real handy, so if you've heard someone on the show and you need to get a number, you can call me and I'll give you that information. Or you can always just call us here on the show.
That's right.
We have this list with us every Friday, so we can give that out.
Yes, we do.
Looks like we got to go here pretty soon. Mark, you're going to be getting on the bus.
Oh, man, I am so excited. The Christian Country Group White River have reunited after about 20 years, and we're doing a tour this weekend.
And you're the roadie.
I'm the roadie. They're picking me up in the bus as soon as we're off the air here, and just going to have a great weekend. It's going to be fun.
Sounds like it. Well, thanks again, guys, for being with us on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
And you have a great time this weekend. I'll be anxious to hear about it next week.
I'll let you know all about it.
All righty.
Well, this is Home Repairs and Solutions. We're heard every Friday morning right here on AM 560 KWTO.